Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome to episode 161 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. So when I began to rewrite the rules for my own life, it was when I was changing careers. I wanted to figure out what I wanted next, but I also knew that there were so many unwritten rules I was playing by that were keeping me from making my move. How we identify and demystify the rules that we have in our life are a really big part in us creating new rules. So today's podcast on rewriting the rules for your life is going to be a way for you to see what you've been subconsciously driven by and also what you want to consciously change so you can direct yourself towards a sense of purpose and fulfillment. So when we start to make these changes to our lives that are based on our own free will, it will often come with a sense of determination. We're going to make a change and we want to do it now. We sign up for something, we make a call, we send an email, we take the first steps, and that's pretty good. But what you start to realize is pretty soon, you start to feel like you're done. You start to go back to your old ways. You're too tired, you're too busy, you are energetically drained, and it keeps you from moving forward towards the change that you want. And it's like those New Year resolutions that are full of hope and they're full of promise in that first month or the beginning of the year. But when it gets to the fourth month, the fifth month, the 6 months later time period, that's when we start to forget about what we said we wanted. And we don't want this to be our pattern for the rest of the year and for our lives. And if we don't want that to be the case, we have to rewrite some of the rules. So if that happens to you, it's because you have unwritten rules that you haven't rewritten. And so we often have a very rational reason for wanting things to change. Yet making changes in our life come with a lot of emotions. And so you move from this thinking mind into the feeling body. Emotions like the fear of the unknown, a worry that we're making the wrong decision. What if you do something that you can't come back from? What if you make a choice and it doesn't work out? And that self-doubt is real, and it is the cost of making a decision every single time. You cannot avoid it. And it is a fallacy to think that it is avoidable. So if it's unavoidable, our biggest rule that we have to rewrite is the rule around our decisions and what feels safe to us and the emotions in our body around our decisions. And my philosophy is that failure is impossible because I always learn from my mistakes. I show myself how that's true all the time. And I keep bringing it back to the forefront of my mind. This is what training your mind actually looks like. It doesn't look like just letting your thoughts go willy-nilly in your brain. It's actually taking the things that you want and bringing it back into your brain constantly. And that enables me to keep both this diligent effort and awareness of what I can improve upon while also allowing me to make mistakes. And both are not easy, but they are very simple. And so that is one rule that you can start to understand. I have a rational idea. I really want to do this thing. But then when it drops into my body, when I have the emotions around tiredness, being scared, I don't know, I have to then rewrite some new rules to say, what would trump this? What would allow me to get past this? What would always allow me to feel the way that I know would serve me in this moment. And sometimes it's recognizing that self-doubt is normal, that failure is planned, that failure is not a bad thing, and that fear is also okay too. And so the ability for us to find all those other rules that we've written in our life, which is that fear is bad, we should never feel uncomfortable, that we should never make mistakes, that everything needs to be perfect, they're keeping us from the life that we actually want. They're keeping us from perhaps being more bold, saying the thing, keeping up with the habits, and being more consistent in how we live our lives, because we erroneously assume that the people that have those things, that are consistently doing that thing, don't feel that way. They don't have the same humanity that you do. But I promise you, they do. I promise you, you're not avoiding anything. You're actually going to feel the same feelings, but they're going to have the reward. You guys follow this thread, which is that literally you will have the same feelings, but they will have a different reward. So there's a version of you that will have the same feeling and have that reward. And I want you to know that anytime you decide to make that change, it is available to you right now. And so there are other rules in your life. And I want you to consider, what are all the other rules that you want to rewrite in your life? Rules around, what are you allowed to feel, like I was talking about? Are you only allowed to feel good things and show up positive and happy and perfect all the time? What are you allowed to say? Are you allowed to only say things that make you sound very intelligent and put together and smart all the time? What are you allowed to do? Are you allowed to do things that seem clumsy, that seem awkward, that seem wrong? Or are you allowed to do all things because they're an example of you living your life and trying new things? What are you allowed to be? Who are you allowed to be? And so there are unwritten rules around how you should operate, maybe even what types of social circles that you can be a part of. When you start to notice that I start to back away from certain groups of people, or I move towards certain groups of people, those are unwritten rules in our brains that are guiding us. There are other ones around money and how much you get to have versus others. What does money mean? How much should you have and what should you do with it? Even the unwritten rules around how much time, that's a big one. How much time do you get to spend on yourself, with yourself, versus your kids, versus your partner, or your spouse, versus your work? All of these are these rules, and many of them are unwritten, guiding our lives, guiding our decisions. And you'll often see disagreements come up between people who have different unwritten rules about how they live their lives. And until we bring them to the surface, we'll just battle all day long with these very superficial things and realize, why do I keep having a problem come up again and again for me? It's because of these unwritten rules. And that is a pet peeve of mine, is to have the same problem appear again and again. And this pet peeve has served me well because it allows me to actually really dig into the root cause of my own and my clients' decisions and the problems they see, to actually pull out what it is that is bringing it up again and again and again. And when I think about this idea of conscious versus unconscious acts and the way that we live consciously and the rules that we have unconsciously or subconsciously, I was reminded of this conversation the other day that I was having with a friend about having people over. And we're talking about when you have people over for extended periods of time, trying to figure out what you want to do with them and then where you want to go. You want to be a really good host. You want to take care of people so that they feel good and that they're having a good time. Yet, at what point do you forget that they really just want to see you? And they really just want to know you better, that the whole purpose of them spending time with you is to have time with you, not some version of your life that is just changed to this unrecognizable form because we're catering to everyone's needs so much that the way you spend your time almost looks 100% different than if you were to spend time by yourself. So this example is like, I remember when I went to Costa Rica and took my mom for 2 weeks out of the 4 weeks we were there, I realized that same important truth again. And I had this before in another epiphany early on in my life. And it was this, that spending time with me is valuable, that the way I live is valuable. Just being with me. We don't have to do things. And it's the energy we bring to every situation, whether it is just making breakfast, whether it is just sitting around, riding in a car together. It's the decisions we make around moving our bodies each day, what we eat, where we go. Just being aware and in the energy of that is valuable. And I'm not saying that from I am so valuable, only me kind of way. I think that is valuable. Your energy is valuable. Everyone's way of being is valuable. And when we can sit with that, when we know that, when we own it, we actually can convey and transfer and share that value with others. But when we diminish it for ourselves, when we diminish it for each other, when we don't see it as valuable, we actually start to make everything else, the things we do, the places we go, the clothes we wear, the things we eat, those then become the thing that we fixate on, that define us. The money we have then becomes what people get to have of us. The house that we live in, how nice it is, becomes what we want to offer to people, instead of what if it just feels so good to be with you? What if your presence and the way you are with someone is the thing? And that is what I mean by this deeper encoding of rules around your life, rules around what is actually driving you. When you get down to the source, and this is an example, the source of all of this is like your energy and your energetic being and the way that you show up and the way that you carry yourself and the way that you think and move and the way you make decisions. That is your quality of being. And so when we have these unwritten rules guiding us, it's like we are just putting on all this show, but not really sure what it's actually for. And often living the way you really want to live and have this outstanding and outsized level of success is incredibly simple. And it is actually way more doable than people realize. And it's actually way more freeing than people realize. Because when you add on all the stuff, the unwritten rules, you actually start to realize that they wear you down. And when you actually remove so much of those unwritten rules, you have so much more energy. You are so much more free. You actually have more time and space because you're not adding a layer of judgment and self-doubt upon another layer of judgment and self-doubt. You allow whatever it is to come up to be what it is, and you just take care of the actual decision that needs to be made with a very clear quality of mind, even if you have lots of thoughts floating through your head, even if you have fear, even if you have emotions of self-doubt, you let that be exactly what it is. And so all of this is valuable. And all of these unwritten rules often come from outside of us. And the reason that it's important to understand that is because one of the first steps of living your life on your own terms is seeing where are you living to other people's expectations of you versus your own. So if you really want to get down to the root, you do have to start to look around and say, wait, which of these things are mine? Then you can ask yourself, well, are these things serving me? Are they not? Are they helping me? Maybe they have, and they actually want to keep them. But this time, I own it for myself. Others, we might need to question and actually rewrite. And that requires a level of intentionality. It requires a level of consciousness. And it's why we actually take these conversations to our coaching sessions, where we unwind these thoughts, where we take this one thing and we say, hey, I've noticed that when I'm around X, Y, and Z, I start to think these things. When I get around people, this is what starts to happen. And many of us think, oh, I'm the only one that feels awkward or weird around people or certain conversations or with people that have money, or maybe they're just humans and they're just different. but you're not alone. I have these conversations all the time with so many people around what makes us feel comfortable, safe, scared, what makes us think all these extra thoughts, what makes us feel like we're not being ourselves. And those conversations are really important to unwind. And then strategically, we go on these retreats to actually get out of our daily routines to live in these new ways for a longer extended period of time. So I've designed my coaching program to be able to take you on the journey of rewriting and examining your rules and reliving them in new ways. And it's consistent. It's for over a year at least. Many of us go for a year and some beyond, so that you end up living that life that you want to live. So you want to question everything and then rewrite it all. Question even what I'm saying to you. Is this helpful? Is it not? But you start to develop your own sense of inner authority because of that. And it will, and it can take years without dedication. You just happen to every once in a while have a rule get unwritten for you and written over in a helpful way. Maybe someone gives it to you. But if you have your own level of persistence and consistency with it, you're going to see your life change faster than you can imagine. And a new life with new rules and examined rules is available right now, all without having to throw away everything that you've already worked so hard for. So when you think about taking a new rule into your current life, it allows you to do things like the ability to do work at 2 times the speed or in half the time, or seeing new breakthroughs occur in relationships where you've had struggles with in the past. And these new rules allow you to see yourself as if you finally washed the window and the windshield and you can actually see through. And you start to see, oh, all the things that I've been thinking of and desiring and hoping for have been there all along. So this is the journey. This is such an integral part. I want you all to really start to deepen your concept of what rules are guiding your life. You don't have to think of every single one right now, but if you have one that you're like, oh, I feel this hesitation. That's how I know. I feel this thing where I feel hesitant towards. There's often a rule there where your mind is willing, but the body is not. And the body is holding the rules that you are being guided by. The thing that's telling you, I'm worried about X, and whatever you're worried about, if you can answer that question, well, I'm worried about X, what other people will think. I'm worried about not having the amount of money that I want. I'm worried about this failing. Those are the unwritten rules that we can start to break through and see and examine and work with. It doesn't mean ignoring it. It doesn't mean just go for it anyways. What I mean when I say, you feel the fear and you do it is you actually feel the fear, you take care of the fear, you manage the fear, you mitigate risk, and you decide what you want to do intelligently with thought, with a level of precision that doesn't come from overthinking and analysis paralysis, but comes from a lighter way of working with decisions. It comes from seeing the simplicity of what you're trying to do and seeing exactly how you need to solve that exact thing. So I will leave you with this quote I love by Carl Jung, which is, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. It is not fate. It is just the unconscious. You can make your life this conscious act of deliberate creation today, and invite you all to join me on this journey. All right, my friends. So if you like this blend of practicality and mindset, you will love coaching. So you can schedule a consultation at www.mayemson.com/contact to learn more about those progressive steps and techniques to actually help you unwind these rules, create new ones, live them in new ways, and figure out who you are, what you want to do next, and how to actually do it. It is a powerful group and private coaching hybrid experience where you will be able to figure out the questions and the answers that you have in your mind already so that you can actually move forward and live that life today. You have 12 months of individualized support, community guidance, retreats, and group coaching. It is everything you need in one container. So I cannot wait to see you all in there. Again, reach out for a consultation at www.mayemson.com/contact. And I've also created a free masterclass for you. If you haven't checked it out, you can go to the link here in the show notes and download the masterclass. It is how to figure out what's next so that you can actually know where you are, and based on where you are, what you need to do next. All right. I love you, my friends. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. You'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.